Hello everyone, welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army. Before we get into today's video, here's a quick roundup of this week's fragrance community news. Chris from the Fragmental channel has told of his distress after a recent sightseeing trip to the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in the Ukraine turned him radioactive. Next, fans of Dava from the Fragrance Bros channel have told of their sadness and disappointment after he released a video simply reviewing a fragrance and failed to mention Jeremy Fragrance at all. Finally, a Jeremy Fragrance subscriber has vented his frustration after returning home from a date and realising that Jeremy's claim that following his fragrance recommendations will automatically make you attractive to women is not really true. Hello everyone, welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army. So today we're going to be having a look at my top 10 best value for money fragrances for 2019. This video is brought to you with a cooperation of my friends over at Notino UK. You can buy all the fragrances there and there are links in the description for you to do that. If you're elsewhere in the world, you may have a Notino where you are, or if not, the fragrances should still be of interest to you. In return for me pointing you in their direction, they have sent me one free fragrance to feature in the video. One other small thing before we get into the list, I've got a new thing called the Smelly Army Private Members Club. For just $2 a month you can sign up for that and you get one extra Mr. Smelly video every week. There's loads of great ones already uploaded that you can unlock as soon as you join, and my most recent one is on my top 5 most cherished fragrances in my collection. We're building a really nice community in there, so if you'd like to sign up, the link's in the description and I'd really love to see you in there. Back to this video then. So top 10 best value for money fragrances. I was going to call it top 10 inexpensive, but there's a couple in here that are niche fragrances, so they're not outright cheapies, but for the value for money, for what you get, I think they're really, really good. So we'll call them best value for money men's fragrances. So no particular order, I like them all pretty much equally. The one that Notino have sent me free then is actually a backup bottle of one of my absolute favourite fragrances of all time. And this is Mancera's Cedrat Boise. I've mentioned it many times on the channel before. So as you can see, my 120ml bottle getting a little bit low there, and so I just couldn't resist taking the opportunity to pick up a fresh one. The price for this, it's a 120ml bottle and it's only £83 on Notino, which I just think is incredible for the quality of this juice. I know that's not dirt cheap, but many people compare it to Aventus. For me, I actually like it better than Aventus and it costs a lot less. It has amazing performance. It's really a citrusy, woody fragrance. It's got lemon, it's got some blackcurrant sweetness in it, and it's got vanilla. There's an underlying kind of sweetness about it, but this musky, woody thing that does remind a lot of people of Creed's Aventus. Fruity, more like a fresh batch of Aventus, but it's got its own thing going on too. There's some sandalwood in there. I think water lily is one of the other notes. Really, really refreshing, bright, strong performing, citrus aromatic or citrus woody, masculine type fragrance. Lovely mixture of beautiful lemon, no pineapple, not the pineapple from Aventus, but definitely the sort of lemony bergamot element of that fragrance, and a really nice fruity, sweet, fresh, woody, all at the same time. Beast mode performance. Mancera Cedrat Boise, a real perennial favourite in my collection, and I think for the value for money on that one, it's hard to beat that. But here's another one that comes close, and again, this is not an out-and-out cheapie, but I think the value for money is stunning, and this is Fougere Royale from Houbigant, one of the real classic, definitive aromatic fougere fragrances. It was first released in the 19th century, and then it's been revived and reformulated for the 21st century. This one for 100ml, just £78. The bottle is really good. It's kind of a designer price, but it's a real niche quality fragrance. You've got some freshness, some citrus in the opening. There's lavender, there's tonka, there's a little bit of warming amber in the base, and it's got aromatic, some lovely herbal notes, some florals. It's a really classy, gentlemanly scent. It's sort of fresh, but it's got a masculinity about it, a little bit of a retro feel, but not dated, and one of the absolute best in its class, up there with much more expensive niche fragrances. So value for money on that one. Absolutely stunning, and highly recommended to check that one out. Moving on then, we're going to go for another classic, and this is just, I don't know why this isn't talked about more. I guess it's because it's been around so long. It's unfairly overlooked, I think, on YouTube in the fragrance community. And this is Guerlain's Habit Rouge, the original eau de toilette version. There are other versions and flankers. 100ml of this, £35. Brilliant value for money. I've got a 50ml here. For the price, I think that is absolutely stunning. Compared, if you buy a Chanel fragrance or something like that, it's going to cost you a lot more for 100ml, and this is way up there, equal to anything that Chanel make or Dior. It's absolutely beautiful. Guerlain's such a classic, brilliant fragrance house. It's got citrus, but it's a citrus oriental. For me, I get a citrus freshness, a prominent rose note, and some sweetness, a kind of vanilla benzoin thing. It's called Guerlainade, this kind of undertone base that a lot of Guerlain fragrances have, and I think this one has it to some extent too. Classic stuff, citrusy, fresh, yet it has this oriental fragrance thing of some sweetness about it. Average, okay performance, not amazing, but a nice subtle signature scent for any occasion. Very, very classy, and a real, almost like a 10 out of 10 fragrance. And for the money, I just think you cannot go wrong with Habit Rouge from Guerlain. Okay, next up then, we're going to go for a somewhat more recent release, but it's still going back a few years, and this is Eau de Rochas from the house, of course, of Rochas, Eau de Rochas Homme. So, a citrus aromatic fragrance, lovely lemon verbena opening and crisp woodiness underneath. If you like your Acqua de Parma type of fragrances, the Colonias, this is sort of in that category. If you like fresh, masculine fragrances with a little bit of woodiness and muskiness, some florals in there, it's fresh, it's got a kind of watery theme with the bottle, but it's not an out and out aquatic, it's got a bit of depth to it, and it's absolutely beautiful stuff. The price on that one, I think it's 100ml, £24. That's just insanely cheap. Or 50ml, I think it's only £16. I've got the 50ml there. Performs really well, fresh, right up there. Maybe the ingredients don't cost as much as niche fragrances, but I enjoy it every time I wear it as much as when I wear an Acqua de Parma or even a Creed. So Eau de Rochas, stunner, and not many people seem to talk about that one. Moving on to one that you'll have heard about before if you watch my channel very much, and this is Bogart Pour Homme from Jacques Bogart. I think it's £15 and a few odd pence for 100ml. Incredible stuff. People talk about cherried tobacco or cherry tobacco combination in this one. Neither of those are listed as notes, but it's a good way to describe it. Some people have said it's kind of a cross between Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Mal and Pure Havane by Thierry Mugler. That gives you some idea too. Lovely tonka and lavender, a sort of a barbershop feel, but this underlying sweetness to it. It sort of can smell a bit synthetic. Not everyone loves it, but I do. It performs really well. It's beast mode, and for a kind of sweet, rich, sexy masculine fragrance. It was created in 2004, this one, and it's still one of my absolute favourites for the money. Just crazy. Bogart Pour Homme. Moving along then, going right back to the 1950s, I think this was a 1959 release, we have Monsieur de Givenchy from the house of Givenchy, a beautiful citrus aromatic fragrance. If you like things like Chanel's Pour Monsieur, this is very much in that vein, and again, much less expensive, but to me, every bit as good. 100ml bottle of this one, £37 only. That's brilliant value. This is the reissue. There's a vintage version that you might find on eBay. There's slight differences, but this modern reiteration, still really, really good. Lovely bergamot in the opening, something of a classic fragrance feel, maybe a bit of a chypre kind of bitterness, the suggestion of a sort of oak moss thing, although they can't really use real oak moss much anymore, sort of green herbal bitterness, and a slightly kind of dusty, very slightly stuffy feel you might feel. So you have to like your sort of retro sense a little bit to really love this one, but it's very, very easy to like because it's just fresh, clean, a little bit soapy, but very, very high quality. So it's Monsieur de Givenchy, under the radar gem, and just stunning value for money, I think, on that one. Moving up to something a little bit more current or a more modern release, and this is one I've been really glad to discover recently, and this is Altamir from the house of Ted Lapidus. As you can see from the juice, we're talking about a more rich and sweet, ambery kind of fragrance. The key thing that I really want to mention about this one is it's very similar to the now sadly discontinued Gaultier Squared from Jean Paul Gaultier, a unisex fragrance, which is heavy on vanilla and orange blossom, and that's exactly what you're going to get here. Very sweet. Some people won't like it. You could say it's cloying. I really like it. It's got a floral, combination with really nice, beautiful vanilla note, and just a hint maybe of the kind of Jean Paul Gaultier La Malle muskiness in there as well. Just a tad bit lighter and fresher maybe than Gaultier Squared. Maybe not quite as good in performance, but for the price, I think it's about £17 for a 125ml bottle. Altamir by Ted Lapidus. If you miss Gaultier Squared or you never got to try it and you're intrigued, great pickup for that price, and I really am so thrilled to have that one actually since I got it. I wear it actually quite often when I feel like some sweetness. A lovely gourmand scent. Next up then, again this one is one that I can't claim to be an outright cheapie, but for the value for money, I think it deserves to be in this list, and this is Colonia Assoluta from Acqua di Parma. And Notino have this one for £69. £69 for 100ml. That is really good value for a niche fragrance. Many people talk about the original Acqua di Parma Colonia. Lots of people like Intensa. I'm a huge fan of Essenza, and this one is almost equally good with Essenza, which is one of my favourite fragrances of all time. It was created actually by Bertrand Duchefort and Jean-Claude Eleanor in combination, two great perfumers, back in 2003. You've got lots of different citrus notes. I think lemon verbena, bergamot, maybe grapefruit, I'm not quite sure. And there's florals in the middle. It's quite floral and a little bit less stuffy smelling than the original Colonia. It is very similar to Colonia. There's some listings also list pimento pepper. There is just this hint of a sort of spiciness and a slight floral kind of sweetness, maybe some jasmine in there. Beautiful, refreshing, light cologne type fragrance, ever so elegant and sophisticated. Performs okay, it's not a great performer, but for under £70 for a 100ml bottle, I just think that's absolutely fantastic. So Colonia Assoluta, a sort of under-loved one from Acqua di Parma, one of my favourite fragrance houses. So we're nearly at the end of the list now. We've just got two more to come. Something that's rather a more modern release than some of the others that I've mentioned is this one. Beautiful stuff. This is Guerlain again, L'Homme Ideal Cologne. So again, there's a lot of citrus going on in here, but it takes the almond note of the original L'Homme Ideal and harnesses that in a much more kind of fresh fragrance. Beautifully juicy, kind of it reminds me of a freshly squeezed lemonade type of drink, you know, old-fashioned lemonade, mixed with this slightly bittersweet almond note and a really, really refreshing, modern, youthful, lovely cologne fragrance. Quite decent performance, and I think it got a really good rating from Luca Turin in his recent, one of the Perfumes the Guidebook, so that's praise indeed. And that one at the moment you're looking at £29 for the 100ml bottle. Which is great value. So highly recommended, L'Homme Ideal Cologne from Guerlain. Last but not least, this could be the best value on the whole list, and one of my favourite fragrances in my collection, up there with the niche stuff, Lalique Pour Homme. I mentioned it in my recent video where I talked about Bois de Portugal from Creed versus Nicolai New York Intense. Much cheaper than both of those, because this one is 125ml for £27. Lovely citrus, lavender, bergamot in the opening, and some woodiness in the base, and a nice sweet vanilla with some spiciness. A classic gentlemanly fragrance, really good performance. I've got compliments on this one. Lovely bottle design and very close in smell to Creed's Bois de Portugal for an incredible fraction of the price. Lalique Pour Homme, a stunning, and this is the Eau de Parfum version. You want the one with a lion's head. There's a horse head version with the same name that smells different. Is very good too, but that's confusing. The lion head one is my favourite. Okay, so let me know in the comments below what you thought of my picks for my top 10 best bang for your buck or pound fragrances. Check them out over at Notino UK. Don't forget to sign up for my private members club if you'd like one extra video every week, and let me know what you thought about this video in the comments below. Remember also, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. See you in the next video. Bye bye.